Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Athena Phillips. If you haven't tuned in earlier, I'm the co-president of Citrus Chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society, and this is our November monthly virtual meeting, and it'll be followed by our guest speaker of the night, the FNPS president, Bonnie Basham. So I want to welcome everybody who's tuning in, and just a reminder that if you have questions or comments during the business portion that I'm running or during Bonnie's presentation later tonight, just go right ahead and put them in the comments. We'll be able to see them, and then hopefully we'll get to them as they come in or as I see them. So as November comes around, it's Thanksgiving, and the biggest thing that as a president and a board member for the chapter is we are so thankful for our volunteers. We really haven't been doing as much outreach as we normally do during the course of normal events. So we've had less volunteering going on, but we have some very dedicated full-time volunteers that are always out there doing stuff. And the main ones are the demo garden volunteers, and we're, weeds always pop up and plants always need pruning. So without them, our demo gardens would not look as good as they do and be the shining example to all of Citrus County. So I want to say that I'm so thankful to have the volunteers. If you're interested in getting out and participating in the demo gardens, we've got them sprinkled all over the county, and we're always interested in having another one if you have an idea of a place that you think a public place that would be a good place for a demo garden and you're willing to take the lead on it, then just talk to one of us, send us an email, go on Facebook. We'd love to hear about it, and we'd love to have some participation. And then the other volunteers that are always working behind the scenes are our board and our committee chair people. We've been having regular board meetings, and we've been continuing with the activities, and membership is always working, and the Council of Chapters representative is attending meetings every month. So, and then of course our vice president and Sue, my co-president, and Gwen, who's our secretary and is always keeping tabs on what we're doing and putting in the record. So I want to say thank you for everybody that's chairing one of our committees or is working behind the scenes to keep the chapter going. So just a little shout out to all of them. So, and the other one I forgot, the other one that I forgot about is the people who participate in the plant sale. Before we had our kind of shutdown, we had a huge plant sale, and that's one of our biggest volunteer participation events of the year. And we always have a lot of fun. And I'm very glad that we had all the volunteers that participated during that as well. So thank you for all your help. You are what makes Citrus Chapter able to do what we do. So speaking of our members, we haven't done a membership report in a little while. And in case anybody is interested, our current membership for Citrus Chapter stands at 134. We currently gained a couple of new members, and we're so pleased to have that happen. Hopefully we'll get to chit chat and see everybody soon. And if anybody's interested, you can go to fnps.org to become a member. There's several levels of membership. You can be an individual or a multi-member for a household, sustainer, students even. We have a student member, and we have one business member. And if you know a business that you think would be a good fit with Citrus Chapter, or you own a business and you'd like to become a business member of the Native Plant Society, I highly encourage you to go to fnps.org and go to join. And you can print out the information there if you want to take it to a business that you're friendly with and see if they'd be interested in becoming a member and supporting the Native Plant Society. So this month, what we're going to be doing instead of Plant of the Month is we're going to be doing What's Blooming. And for the first time, I actually did the What's Blooming. I went out into my yard and went around, and I thought, because we're kind of transitioning over to a period where the October fall wildflowers are petering out a little bit, that I might not get anything, but I was actually pleasantly surprised at how much was still available. Kind of going from the left-hand side up and around to the right-hand side. You can probably see the little red berries of the scrub holly. This I bought at the Hernando County native plant sale one time, and I've been just so pleased to have it. I'm in a very dry upland habitat, so the scrub holly was a really good mix. And then some purple flowers. Just above that is the calamint. I'm not sure the species, but it's really blooming right now, and the foliage always smells good even when it's not blooming. Saltbush kind of in the back from the left to the center. Bonnie and I were discussing this actually a couple of days ago, and she was talking about how it's a great migratory monarch pollinator plant. And I was like, well, I don't think mine's blooming yet. And sure enough, I went out and there it was. And then those arching purple stems on the left-hand side, that's the blazing star. I think mine is Leitris. It's actually tenuifolia, not with an A. But that's starting to be spent right now, but there's still quite a few stems that are out there. So it's a nice addition. In the middle, it's kind of hard to see because my dotted horse mint is very pale. I don't get the ones that are purple, but it's still going. It's been going for a couple of months now. And then on the right-hand side in the back, very wispy, you can barely even see it, is the tall jointweed. And the yellow flowers in front of it are the golden aster. I think this is coastal plain golden aster, but I haven't really been able to tell. The nice surprise is when I went out and picked it and I was walking around with my little bouquet, I kept smelling something sweet, and I was wondering what that was. And I went through all the different plants, and it turned out to be the golden aster. I never even knew it had a scent. And then just below the yellow golden aster is some purple flowers going down to the bottom, and that's the large flowered conradina. My small flowered version is always been one of my favorite plants in my landscape, but the large flower conradina is really going gangbusters right now with the blooms. So it's been a good addition as well. And then in the front, it looks mostly like green leaves, but there's like a couple of tiny little red berries you can see, which is the wild coffee. I have some problems since I'm not really mesic. I'm more sandhill, keeping one of these alive, but I managed to keep one alive and it's doing very well. And down in the bottom, kind of going into the vase, is some dog fennel, which also has a really wonderful scent to it. Not the foliage. The foliage kind of smelly, but the flowers, they are so powerful and fragrant that you can smell them from quite a ways away. And then just above that, sort of in the center, is beautyberry, and I'm lucky that I have both the regular purple version and the white version. And you can see both of those berries, they're kind of in the middle. I included the wild coffee and the holly and the beautyberry, even though they're technically not flowers, they're berries, because right now it's rather important to provide food for birds. And when birds aren't nesting and eating insects, they're eating berries and acorns and things like that. So these are good plants to kind of remember about. And then sort of in the background, it's kind of hard to see because I ended up with so many flowers, it really wasn't that prominent anymore, but the winged sumac is changing color right now, and that's so pretty. They're turning from green to green, golden, and red. And then down in the middle and at the bottom, there's a little bunch of yellow flowers, and that's the silkgrass, which sometimes it's also called golden aster, but I think that makes too much confusion, so I just stick with silkgrass. And then right above that is Garberia, which is a threatened plant in Florida. And it also doesn't have a common name, if you've noticed on the little page there. It goes by its Latin name, which I really appreciate when plants end up not with common names and just use their regular scientific Latin. But so that is the what's blooming for right now. And I had such a good time just walking around my yard and trying to find little plants here and there. So it was kind of fun for me. And if you want to provide a what's blooming 1 month, I'd be happy to have you join the fun. And just all you need to do is send a picture, or if we're meeting back in person, you can come along and bring a bouquet. So for our activities that are coming up, if you've received our email, then you should already be aware of all these. And if you want to be on our email list, send us at the chapter email address a request, and we'll put you on the email list to get the updates. So Saturday, November 14th, we have a nursery trip to the Nature Coast Botanical Gardens and to Rita Grant's Carr Creek Nursery. Rita will be doing a presentation on seed collection, which should be really informative, and I encourage you to RSVP to Ben for this. You can find the information also on our website if you need the contact information for how to get a hold of Ben. If you go to that, she's requested that you bring a chair. We're going to be doing some social distancing. But unless you want to stand, you're going to have to bring a chair. And there is a cap on how many people can attend, so make sure to get your RSVP to Ben if you're interested in going. Now, on next Tuesday, in a week, we'll be having our chapter elections online via Google Meet. We sent that information out earlier. We'll be sending a reminder email very soon with the links to get on. So it'll be kind of a quick little meeting. We're just gonna, have the vote on the officers, and then we can chit chat if you want to stay on and talk about some things that are going on, and we'll see where the conversation goes. On Saturday, November 21st, we're having a Lecanto Demo Garden Maintenance Day. I encourage you to attend this. It's a great learning experience. Barbara McCormick is our leader at the Lecanto Demo Garden, which is located at the IFAS office, the Cooperative Extension Office by the county building. So she's always informative. You learn a lot while you're there. Because the season's kind of changing, there's not even that much work that needs to be done, but usually there's always some spare runners or cuttings or seeds that are left over, and it's a great way to add to your own garden. Then on Saturday, December 5th, we'll be having our holiday member picnic. The members will be receiving information about that, and it's just going to be kind of casual, social distance. There's some available options for us to do little activities, but just an opportunity for us to get together. Then on Tuesday, January 5th, will be our next chapter meeting, because we don't have a meeting in December. And that will be Andrew Koser, and he'll be talking to us about storm-resistant trees. Now, I always encourage you to regularly check the website and Facebook, because sometimes there's events that pop up that we weren't able to email them out in time. We might have another field trip that comes up in December that hasn't been, set in stone yet. So definitely check the website or check Facebook and get the details there. Okay. So I see we have a couple of comments. Donna Hummer wanted to comment that that the bouquet was very pretty. Thank you, Donna. And Dawn says that she loves the bouquet. So if there are no more further comments concerning any of the information I brought up or any future business, we can kind of consider that the completion of our business meeting for November. And at this point, we'll go to the speaker's present. I'll introduce you to our speaker for the evening. So Bonnie and her husband Woody live outside Tallahassee on several acres of native habitat planted in longleaf pine, slash pine, old growth oaks, and pecan trees. It has become a corridor for a wide variety of animals, including deer, turkey, bear, pileated woodpeckers, foxes, and fox squirrels. Bonnie works as a lobbyist and has represented the boating community to the Florida legislature for 41 years. Prior to her lobbying career, she was a civics and history teacher in Orlando. She has 2 master's degrees, one in education and one in political science, and both were granted by Stetson University in 1971. She's been gardening since the age of 8 and learned the botanical names of plants from her mother and grandmother at an early age. She learned many valuable lessons from them, including The reward for weeding is that when you weed your garden, you always find a plant or two that you'd forgotten about, which that is very true. I am always finding plants in my yard that I forgot about. So now, if everybody's ready, I'd like to introduce you to FNPS President, Bonnie Basham. Hi, Bonnie.
Thank you. Hi, and you'll have to tell me how to proceed.
Start your presentation.
Can you see me?
Oh, I can see you. Yes.
Oh, I can't see you. Hi, guys.
We can see you, don't worry.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have to forgive me. This is my very first chapter presentation. So I've got all those first night jitters. And I've been on the other side, but I've never been on this side of a presentation. So I appreciate the fact that I get to learn with you guys. And let me start out by acknowledging Gail Taylor. She doesn't know I'm going to do this, but Gail was awarded the FNPS Silver Palmetto for exemplary volunteer work and leadership at last year's conference, and I just wanted to share that with you in case you had not heard that. And you've got a number of really dynamite people, including Athena, who help us in our leadership and roles in FNPS, and we very much appreciate that. This is going to be a presentation with probably 2, maybe 3 parts. In June, at our annual conference, which was virtual, the Florida Wildflower Foundation and FNPS signed a memorandum of understanding. And in that memorandum of understanding, we agreed to work even more closely than we have before with each other on plant saves and all sorts of projects. So Liz Sparks, whom some of you may know, and I put together a presentation for when we can actually make this together. So you'll see some slides that are our presentation, and you'll see some slides that are my presentation. So let me get started. This is one of the many things that is blooming in my yard right now. It's Helianthus angustifolius. I did not know that angustifolius means narrow-leaved, and this is the narrow-leaf sunflower. If you do not know this flower, I urge you to find a way to get it into your garden. It's just a beautiful ray of sunshine. It blooms now up here in Tallahassee when most everything else is quit blooming. This is the top of about a 6-foot tall branch that is covered with these miniature sunflowers all the way down to the ground. So think about it and see if you can't find it. It will run and self-seed. So if you bring one into your yard, pretty soon you'll have more than one. But then you can just share it with your neighbors. So I commend this to you. And to go back to our relationship with the Florida Wildflower Foundation, we work a lot together on plant rescues, and we are currently working with the Department of Transportation up here at the state administrative level to develop a protocol for chapters to be able to easily follow to find out when a road is going to be resurfaced or maybe widened, or something is going to happen along a road where there may very well be endangered or threatened plants. One of the reasons that we are doing this is that last summer in the heat of May, we found out literally as the bulldozers were coming to start to bulldoze the sides of a highway. that they were coming. And there were several varieties of Asclepias that were there that we did not want to lose. So we went to the DOT. We begged them to take the bulldozers and take them down to the south part of McCullough County. And they gave us 3 days to get as many plants out of that area as we possibly could. We realized that we don't want to have chapters in that situation of that kind of a close call. So we are working on a way. I hope we'll have a protocol and an easy to learn process by the middle of next year. My sense is that we will. So stay tuned for that. And then this slide also was created to remind you of the Lunch and Learn on Friday at noon. If you have not attended them, please try to. I find them absolutely fascinating. I don't know where we have come up with so many different topics. They start generally right at noon, and sometimes they'll go a little bit beyond 1 o'clock, and then they're available after that. But I have found them extremely helpful. So moving into our presentation, I don't need to tell you that plants and pollinators depend on each other, and we depend on them to assure our food supply. And I also don't need to tell you that this ghastly map is on the right is what the state's going to look like in 50 years from now. It is frightening, and I don't see how we're going to stop the growth. I don't think we ever will. I'm hoping that the M-Course projects, the toll roads to nowhere, get slowed down. But this is what we have ahead of us. And one of the things that we're finding is that when the growth starts, it comes out into the rural areas. I'm sure you're seeing this. I know we're seeing it up here. And you get very fragmented habitat, and which is threatening to many animal and plant species. Doug Talamay has done some research and has come up with an idea which caught my fancy, which is to try to connect habitat from yard to yard and roadside and utility easements and landscapes, but to try to think of where, if you're in an area that's pretty open, what's the next area closest to you, and how could I possibly or perhaps start towards creating a corridor for plants and for animals. One of the I think dreadful things about Florida is this mile after mile after mile of nothing but concrete or macadam, with grass on either side. And when we know that we can do a lot better with planting for pollinators and small animals on the sides of the road. And so we're trying to keep that uppermost in mind and trying to keep legislators and county commissioners to understand that. Here's another view of that shows you this fragmented landscape that we're seeing. And here's one of the interesting ways that we have found people working together. These two ladies live next door to each other. So they created, or they are creating, this pathway of natives that transcends the boundary of where their driveway is going to be. And hopefully they would go all the way around the backside of this pond. But it's possible to do this kind of thing, and it's possible to convince your neighbors to help you with that. And Doug says everybody can make a difference, even if the only place you have, and I don't mean to say that in a disparaging way, but even if you take some of these large pots and plant them with a variety of native plants, you're still doing something, and you're still contributing to this whole concept of an integrated habitat. I put this picture in because while I certainly wish my yard looked like this, not everybody wants their yard to look quite like this. And so we see a lot of yards that look like this. But if you take a real close look, the space between the portico here and the driveway, this little space, is something that could be, the grass could be dug up, and a small wildflower garden could be put in there with plants that would bloom throughout the year. And it would be a small start. I don't know what is over here, but my eye wants to go put a garden in there as well. But sometimes we don't step back and look at what's around us with an eye towards where can I tuck in a few more native plants. So I just commend that to you. And of course, there's always the rain garden. I love rain gardens. I've had one off and on forever, and right now I have a bog garden that I have some pitcher plants in, with some ageratum and some other plants on the outside of all that. But and I'm trying to teach the pitcher plants how to go after the mosquitoes, but I'm not having much luck with that. But I'm trying to get them to do that. But so I commend you and commend to you the idea of a rain garden, if you can possibly put one together. And then to the next section of this conversation, I'm really, really pleased and proud of you guys for having gone to your county commission to have the county commission accept or pass a resolution. And that resolution says in part that the county is committed to the conservation of native wildflowers on state and public property. And really, this is really important, it instructs the county staff to partner with applicable state agencies and adjoining property owners to plan and implement management practices. That gives you, I believe, the entree to begin working with your county manager and your county road department. I can tell you that in Wakulla County, I live in Leon, but my chapter is in Wakulla. In Wakulla County, the roads were getting mowed every other month, and we were just aghast. So we proposed an ordinance to the county, and they brought it up, and we were defeated. And it looked as though they were going to still continue to mow every month and mow down all the flowers. And the county manager said to me, look, I can give a guy or gal a set of keys. I can put them on a tractor, and I can say, don't come home until the sun goes down. And I don't have to think about it. And I said, I was appalled. And I said, yeah, but think of everything that they're hurting, and think of the damage that they're doing. And he didn't want to hear any part of it. But what happened was, well, I flipped my slides. I'm sorry. What happened was, we found a county commissioner who absolutely was committed to reducing the mowing in Wakulla County. And he became the lightning rod for the next presentation that we made of a new ordinance. We came back the next month, and he listed county roads that he felt should be mowed, and we winnowed that list down from, you know, every road in the whole wide world to just a few to get started. And at the same time, he suggested that we, I apologize, I've got these two slides backwards, that we create small groups to be the eyes and ears of, and the boots on the ground for making sure that the mowing was happening correctly, and to monitor these specific roads, and to not try to get all the roads into this program, but start with a select few, which I understand you guys have done, and make the program work to the point where the people who are administering it don't see it as a problem, but they actually see it as a possibility. And one of the things, as a lobbyist, one of the things I've learned is, if you can go to the elected officials and get one or maybe two to be your champions, the county manager and the person in charge of the mowing and every other employee in the county work for those county commissioners. If you can find a person who will help you convince, encourage, whatever word you want to use, those administrators to give it a try. You've got a friend in court, and you've got someone who the employees understand is really dedicated to this project, and it for us, it has made a difference. And then I'll tell you a horrible story. It has made a difference, and one of the oh my gosh things that happened last year was we had committees. They went out and they checked on roads. They knew that a 29-mile stretch of Zephyr Lilies was going to be, or a 29-mile stretch of Highway 98 was going to have herbicide put not where the lilies were, but put in the ditch and up on the slope. But the committee went out. They talked with the man who's going to apply the herbicide. He understood, and the committee thought, well, that's going to work. And they never went back on the day that the project started and the herbicide was applied. And the herbicide was applied to 29 miles of Zephyr Lilies. The person who we talked to had given directions to someone else who didn't understand. So we've learned now, even though you know it's going to work out all right, you still need to make sure that you show up, you dress out ready to play, and you show up just to make sure that there's no cog in that wheel. So I share with you our successes and our lessons. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might, this is my kitty cat, might have regarding how to get in touch with, how to know your legislator, county commissioner, how to talk to them. We've got a really good handbook on the website that was created on how to talk to a legislator. And it's really very simple. It feels daunting at first, but I'm happy to give you guys pointers or answer questions about how do you convince those employees to take on the project of saving these pollinators. How do you get them to buy into that so that it's as much their idea as it's your idea? And with that, I will stop and take questions.
Well, so far we haven't had any questions about the pollinator corridors yet, but Gail Taylor did want to thank you for recognition of her contributions. Gail has been an incredible asset to this chapter, so we're
Yes,
very
you are.
lucky to have her.
And you as well.
Well, we've got great volunteers in the chapter. So just out of curiosity, is there anything in your, I mean, I don't want you to give away your tips and tricks, but is there anything that you have found successful in getting the county workers to kind of feel invested in it?
Yeah, one of the things that it's hard to do and it takes a while, but one of the things that I did was to go talk with the man, the county manager, find out who the mowing guy was and in charge of, and go sit down and talk with him, and listen to all the reasons why he thought it would be difficult and wouldn't work, but be ready to have the answers of, well, okay, you know, you're worried about A, but have you looked at it from the standpoint of the benefit of not mowing these areas and the kinds of rewards that you'll feel good about, because you have let some of these pretty areas alone. I'm not doing a good job with that, but it takes getting to know those people, and getting them to trust you, and making sure that you impart to them a sincere understanding, or at least attempt to understand what their concerns are. Because usually, like, you know, when we got into this, the first thing that we heard was, well, the contract's already been let next year, so forget it. Well, no. So we went back to the county commissioner and we said, you suppose they could amend that contract? And sure enough, they could. And so it's going back and forth and getting that buy-in, without, if you'll forgive me, without sounding like a little old lady who only cares about buttons. And I can't see you guys, so I don't know. There's a way to be passionate without crossing a line where a person on the other side doesn't understand that passion, and therefore they just discount it. So that's a long answer.
Yeah, well, I could imagine. See, I would anticipate that when dealing with county workers and even with the county commissioners, you don't want to be coming across as though you're bossing them around or anything like that, and you really want to try to partner with them. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And if they, and I think you guys are working on giving intersections of roads and maybe not having them selectively mow. If they feel as though doing what the county commission told them to do is not a tremendous burden on them, then they'll just shrug their shoulders and, you know, kind of roll their shoulders and say, oh, well, okay. So they have to be committed to and believe that it's not going to be a time-consuming, difficult task. And it really isn't.
Gail wants me to remind everybody where our actual roadside no-mow areas are. So when worked with the county commissioners, and the NOMO resolution was established. It listed our pilot roads that we wanted to start with, which would be on the west, east, and south side of the citrus tract of the Withlacoochee State Forest. So that's 491 South Lecanto Highway is on the west side, and on the south side is Stagecoach Road. And then on the east side, I believe that's Snow Memorial Highway. I think that's what its designation is. So the Florida Wildflower Foundation recommends doing roads that are near conservation areas and that have already gotten established seed banks and less neighborhoods, so that there's less conflict with people who want to mow in front of their properties. And that worked really well for around the adjacent roadsides with the wildlife, with the state forest. But if anybody is aware of other roads that could be added at a later point, as we get things really kind of rolling here, we're always interested in hearing about new possible roadways. They need to have wide easements. I believe FWF recommends 20-foot easements, so that because there's always that emergency area that does get mowed directly next to the pavement, and then you want to have an area of wildflowers that can grow beyond that. So about 20-foot easements, hopefully limited invasive species, because that's not going to be successful if you've got a bunch of invasive species, and also either with neighbors that are already on board with letting the wildflowers grow in front of their yards, or if you can work with them, or in areas that are already kind of rural and undeveloped, get it established before the development happens, and then maybe things can carry on. So if anybody is aware of roads like that, or if anybody wants to participate in our monitoring, that we go out and we check to see what species are growing, or if the roads have been mowed, get a hold of us and we'll include you in on our next little trip out.
And let me just add that this is probably going to sound really strange, because probably none of you have ever done this, but I do this after 41 years of lobbying. When I've got somebody new that I need to go talk to, I sit down usually with a friend, my husband, maybe my cat, but I sit down and I role play. I play myself, and the other person asks the difficult questions and takes on the attitude of, I don't care what you say. Because if you've gone through that and you've thought that through and you've come out on the other side, then if that's the personality of the person you're talking to, it doesn't throw you for a loop. And I commend it. I know it sounds silly, but I commend it to you, because I role play my side and then I role play their side, so that I've thought through ahead of time the kinds of things that they might throw at me that are ridiculous, but I still got to answer them. So it's fun. I mean, I think it's fun, but so think about doing that before you go talk to that person, because it'll really help you.
The only other update I have on the comments section is Ben, who is our activities chairman. He has an update for his thing, which is the outings that we have planned for December and November. The November field trip only has one person so far that's RSVP'd. So if you intended to RSVP, anybody who's watching, and you haven't, let him know. That way we know that we have enough people to make the trip worthwhile. And we do have a potential field trip in the works for December, so stay tuned for more information about that.
I'm glad you're doing field trips. I think the chapters are starting to experiment with socially distant kinds of field trips. I know Sarracenia is limiting, of course, the number of people who can come, depending upon the area that we're going to. But gosh, those field trips, I think that's the first thing I started to miss when all this started to happen, was just getting outside and seeing neat stuff.
Yeah, so, I would come in contact with some of our members just going shopping and be like, "Oh, hey, how are you doing?" And basically, everything that I was hearing was that they miss coming to the meetings. They miss seeing, their plant people. It's, kind of isolating. So we were very happy to start the activity, the outings back up because they're outdoors. We're not doing anything indoors, and we can do social distancing. We haven't had any huge amount of people that have, wanted to come, so it hasn't been very difficult to kind of socially distance on our trips. And we encourage mask use if you have it or you can use it. But yeah, so
Well,
go ahead.
I think people are starting to be more willing to think about doing things like field trips. I, I, I mean, I'm sensing that people are. I'm still not too sure about it, but I'm sensing that a lot of other people are.
Yeah, I think we had about a half dozen people come to our last field trip. And the nice thing about the ones that Ben organizes with some of the land managers is that we get to learn a lot about the properties themselves and how they were developed, how they were acquired, how they're currently being managed. So it's always really informative. And it's a lot better than just going out and looking at plants by yourself because you actually get to learn something.
Yeah.
And I know Suncoast is also doing some other field trips because I've seen them posting pictures about it. So we're out there. We're trying to do some stuff, but So
well, you got to take it slow.
Yeah, and we are. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we did last month was a member plant swap, and that was a nice thing because there was no walking involved. You just kind of hang out and talk to each other, and you get to go home with some plants. And I've still got. Yeah, I have plants I haven't planted yet, but I'm getting around to it.
Yeah, that would be neat.
So, as I understand it, some of the activities that the society has been doing on a society level, you've partnered with Yopon Brothers Holly. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. I just happen to have a slide. Yopon Brothers came to us. They are members. I apologize, I can't remember where they're located, but they have started making or making Yopon tea from the Yopon holly, and then they've got a mint tea, and now they're coming out with, although I haven't seen it yet, or they're coming out with a Christmas blend. I'm not quite sure what's going to be in it. But the incredible thing is that they came to us and they said, we would like to give you 50% of everything we make off from our tea, our Yopon tea, which was just phenomenal. And I believe that they are putting together a way for chapters to purchase the tea in quantity, still packaged the way you see it there, but in quantity, so that you could sell it or give it away, whatever you wanted to do. I don't know that because of COVID, I don't know that how far along they are with that, but I know that that was one of our plans. So yeah, and I've got the address of their website, and I'll share these various addresses with you, Athena, so you can put them up on your website.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I've tried Yopon Hall. I think they're in Jacksonville, and I've tried their fire roasted tea, which I found very delicious. But it's nice that you're able to partner with them like that.
Yeah, we are really, really pleased.
And one of the other things that you guys have been working on behind the scenes is the FNPS Florida license plate. Isn't that right?
Yes. Amazing.
How do we go about getting one of those?
Well, let me step back for a second. This is the last version of the plate that I had. There is another for those of you who are looking at it, the word Florida and the word native are slightly different in size. In the final version, they're the same size. Other than that, it's all the same. And the way you go about getting one of those, and I'll send this to you as well. The tag costs $33, and we have to sell 3,000 of these before the state will start production on them. And that's a hefty number of license tags. But out of the $33, FNPS will receive $25 for our mission work, which is just phenomenal. We've worked for almost 8 years now to try to get this tag passed, and we got it. Our lobbyist Sue Mullins got this done last session. So I think the tag is really neat. I will tell you that the legislation required the word Florida and the word native. It required 5 native plants. There are 6 in there, and it actually had the size of the point size of the type for the word. So we were constricted by that. But I love this tag, and I think people beyond the Native Plant Society will enjoy it as well. So, and the Sable Miner has just come out, and there is an article in the Sable Miner by Gene Kelly, who's our policy chair, about the tag, and there is a picture of the tag in the Sable Miner. There will be a different address for you to get in touch with. Right now, it'll be Sue Mullins, and she's taking the orders. And you don't have to pay for it right now. Eventually, you'll be billed for that by the Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. But right now, Sue is handling that until we get that process started with highway safety.
Very good. The design, I know it went through several different models,
Oh,
but
yes.
as I recall, that this was more the sort of, I don't want to say generic, but more broadly appealing design to incorporate the native plants that we're kind of familiar with and the FNPS palmetto, but so that other people outside of just the society would be interested in having it.
Right, and the legislation talks about it has to be camouflage, and I remember camouflage. I have a lot of it. They're just amorphous blobs of color, and so I think that the artist did a great job of that, of the amorphous blob, but with some definition to them. And I'm really pleased. I'm very pleased.
Now, there's
yes,
also
we are
new...
trying to.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's also a new grant opportunity that has just come up. Isn't that correct with the society?
Yep. You and I are on the same wavelength.
I've been paying attention to the board meeting.
Yes, you have. For you, you get a star, and you don't have to go to the next 2. This is a grant. We had a couplet fern member named Chris Costello who came to us and said he wanted to create a grant that FNPS members and or chapters could apply for, and do the science and the research on, as opposed to people from other walks of life coming in and applying for the grant. He really wanted to see our chapters get involved, and one of the things that he felt strongly about was that if we work on how to, or restore native species and habitats, then we can share that with land managers and help them do a better job of restoring and protecting us on their property. The grant is named for a lady named Cornelia McNamara, who left us an incredibly generous donation legacy program. And so we wanted to honor her and her long-term commitment to FNPS, so we named the grant after her.
Now, did they, because I'm not exactly clear on the type of work to be done, were there any like examples? I know, say like Kara Driscoll, who's the council chapter's chair, she has been doing for her schooling and on her own, she's been doing information gathering on a particular species of milkweed. Would that be something like this grant would be for, you know, documenting locations and finding associated plants that grow around it, things like that?
Well, and I apologize. I don't know a full answer to that question. I'll find it out and I'll send it to you and you can share it with the chapter. My sense is that it's more geared towards species that are endangered or threatened, where if land managers understood the nature of the species better and the kinds of protections it needed, they would take that into consideration when and if they found that species on the property. And I'm not doing a very good job of explaining it, but I will get you a better explanation. But it's really towards helping land managers manage the property they have better because they're now more informed about particular species that are on the property that they may never have known about or really thought about.
Okay. And I know one of the other big events going on with the society is the annual conference, which has been determined that it'll be a mostly virtual event in May. I'm assuming it's still going to be in May. That's right.
That's right. And it will be we're going to completely virtual now. At least the last time I heard we had. We're still working on it.
I think that'd keep you in the loop, though.
Yeah, one of the things that we have asked the chapters to consider doing to be a part of this, and I'm excited to see what happens out with this, but one of the things that we've asked the chapters to think about doing is presenting or preparing a short video on a field trip that you took that's really unique to your area, or a project you've been working on, like the projects that you were talking about earlier, demonstration ribbons, something that shows all the rest of the chapters what your particular chapter is focusing on and is doing. So that, and to me, I really like that almost better than these big name speakers, because I think it will help chapters think of new ways and outside the box for things that they can do as well. So I'm excited.
So I know this year has kind of been a difficult year and a lot of things haven't been happening that we'd want to happen, but has anything gone on during the year, special achievement that you've kind of been real happy about?
Things that I'm real happy about. Well, it's been interesting. Sure, it is becoming an interesting journey. Look at it that way. Um, and I I was ecstatic when I was asked to consider becoming president, and I'm very, very committed to it. I'm committed to the organization and to all the members. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to get out on the road and actually meet members, which is a real disappointment to me. I hope that before my term is over, we actually are back on the road and coming around and seeing each other. I think the one of the first things was this legacy donation that the lady left us, the Cornelia McNamara left us, which then turned into the discussion with Chris Costello about coming up with a new grant. To me, that's exciting. One of the other things we're thinking about in the ethnobotany grant, we are considering opening that up to anyone who would like to do an ethnobotany research project, rather than simply a student. To me, I know some people up here in the Panhandle who are very into making all sorts of instruments out of reed and everything else, and so I think we will get some very, very interesting research and papers out of opening that to a wider group of people. So those are both things that I'm pleased with, and the other thing, not this, it's not. I'm not pleased with how we got where we are, because I'm not pleased that George Floyd was killed and other people have been killed, and we have a problem of racism in this country. I'm not pleased with that at all, but I am. These moments this summer have caused the board, and I think others, to start to look at how we reach out to other communities and include them in all of our efforts. And while the way we got there was dreadful, the fact that the board has now set a policy, and we are starting to work to develop a committee that's going to start working on inclusion and diversity. To me, is a good step, and I'm pleased that I've been able to.
Yeah, from my perspective, same thing. I mean, it's the COVID situation is not something that we're happy to have had happen.
No,
but
no.
with the society, as far as that goes, I really do feel that it pushed us into the direction of having to do more things online and put more programs online. So that's been a gain, a technology gain for us to be able to bring services online that we weren't doing before, and hopefully continue that to some extent after we're able to go back and start meeting in person. Because there's a lot of people within my own chapter that live a significant distance away from where we meet. They might prefer to be able to tune into a program or a meeting instead of drive in. And then there's disability issues as well, where people make it after dark because their eyesight's not great, or they just can't drive, or whatever it is. So I see that as a real gain for the society overall during this time.
Yeah, I do as well. I know that there are some rural areas up here in north central Florida and over here in the Panhandle where the distance, I drive 55 miles one way to get to a Sarasota board meeting. Yeah. A Sarasota chapter meeting, and that's a long way. Yeah. And I'm looking forward. I'm starting to ask the board if maybe we could could have, when we can have the in-person meetings, have them, but some way for those of us who want to participate, but I shouldn't drive at night, I try very hard not to, still could be a part of that. And yeah, out of adversity generally does come something good.
Yeah. So we haven't really gotten any questions as far from the audience as far as things going on with the society, but I did want to throw it out there because you're not able, like you said, to go and meet with people, but they can still contact you at your president@fnps.org email. Yes.
Absolutely, and absolutely, I would welcome any interaction with any of you, and I'm very sincere about that. I want to be a good president. I want to lead in ways that matter to you as members, and that's not just platitudes. I sincerely mean that. And if you've got ideas for something we should be doing or something we should be looking at, or you just want to ask some questions, I'm at this desk a lot, and I'm more than happy to answer questions and engage in conversations. I did forget my candies, if I can show them.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the outfalls of of COVID is that I had pledged my 2 years to membership and increasing membership and doing things for members. And with the help of Gail Taylor, and who helped me kind of brainstorm this idea, I came up with an idea for M&Ms. And on one side of the M&Ms are the words "Members Matter," and on the other side is the M for M&Ms. And so I've got 2,400 of these. I had them printed, and then there's white ones in here, and they have our statement poem printed on them. And I put them in little bags, and because I can't get out and share them with you in person, I am sincerely offering, if you will send me an envelope, I will send you back a bag of Member Matters candies. So that's my parting offer.
So everybody who's stuck around to the end, you can get free candy if you send a padded envelope to Bonnie with your name and address.
Right. Thanks. And thanks for having me. I appreciate it and enjoy it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you. And I hope that you have a successful term in your presidency and we see bigger and better things coming down the pipeline.
Absolutely. Thanks.
So for everybody, good night, Bonnie. So for everybody who has gotten this far, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having our January meeting. It might be online, it might be in person, we'll find out. And then if you need any further information on anything we discussed tonight, please feel free to email us or give us a call. Our contact information is on our website. So have a good night, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays to everyone if we don't see you before then. Good night.